I remember the first time I saw my granddad, Silas Garner, on that tractor. It wasn't like watching an old man struggle with machinery. It was like watching a king mount his throne. His hands, rough and cracked from decades of working in the sun, gripped that chain, pulling a brand-new luxury SUV through thick mud toward a swollen creek. The county deputy? He wasn't trying to stop it. He was filming it like it was some kind of spectacle, a fireworks show about to explode. And me? While I was standing there, boots wet, the smell of diesel and river muck in the air, thinking this is either going to make us legends or get us arrested. I'm Cole Garner, and I grew up on our family's ranch, nestled outside Red Willow, Oklahoma, a town so small, its exits still don't have much to say about who matters. My granddad's been here longer than I can remember, longer than those fancy highways and all the rules that come with them. Our ranch isn't anything special, just fences, hay, and a rusty old county road that likes to mind its own business. That morning, the day everything started to go wrong, was supposed to be simple. It was late spring, the sky was so blue it looked scrubbed clean, and the air was cool enough to make a fresh cup of coffee feel like a reward. Grandpa had been up at dawn, as usual, feeding cattle and checking the fences. His routine was part of what kept this place from falling apart. I was waiting for a feed delivery, a semi with pallets of protein and mineral tubs. If that truck missed its delivery window, our cattle were going to make it everyone's problem. So I was standing there, holding my coffee, walking toward the gate when I saw it, a white SUV parked squarely across our entrance, not off to the side, not angled, but blocking the way like it had every right to be there. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe someone was lost. Maybe it was an honest mistake. But when I heard Grandpa's boots crunching behind me, slow and steady, I knew that wasn't the case. He stepped up beside me, squinting at the SUV like it had personally offended him. "That ain't no mistake," he said, his voice sharp but low. Just then, the driver's side window rolled down, and out leaned a woman, so smooth it looked like she was ordering coffee at a drive-thru. Mid-50s, expensive sunglasses, hair tight, and that look on her face like she'd never heard the word no. She smiled like she had already won. "Morning," she said. "You're blocking a public access route." I blinked. "Ma'am, this is our ranch entrance." Her smile didn't budge. "Not according to the Red Willow Growth Initiative. This corridor is under review. I'm documenting." Grandpa didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. He just stepped closer, his boots grinding the gravel underfoot, and said, "Come as a man talks to a skittish horse. Ma'am, you're parked on Garner land. And around here, we don't test fences just to see if they'll bend." She stared at him for a second, like he was some kind of strange animal, then rolled up her window and drove off, tires leaving marks on the gravel like a signature. Grandpa took a sip of his coffee like nothing happened and said, "Cole, that was a probe." "A what?" "A probe," he repeated. "They poke, see if you flinch, and then come back with paperwork." I stood there, staring at the gate, the dust settling around us, and I felt it, that quiet shift from peaceful to targeted, like someone had decided we were in their way. The next day, sure enough, she was back. Same SUV, same perfect placement, blocking our gate like it was her personal driveway. This time, she got out, heels sinking into the dirt, clipboard in hand, camera phone already up. She was snapping photos like she was recording evidence for her own documentary. "Morning," I said, trying to keep my cool. "You lost again?" She gave me that same fake smile, cold as ice. "Not lost, just verifying. Your fence line extends into the proposed shared corridor by about 3 feet. That's a violation." I stared at her for a second, wondering if she really believed her own nonsense or if she was just enjoying the power she thought she had. "You're parked on our gate," I said. "Move your vehicle." She ignored me, clicking away on her phone. "These structures will likely need to be removed for public safety and access." I couldn't help myself. I laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "That mailbox has been there since my dad was in diapers." She smirked, just enough to make me want to slap the smile right off her face. "Then it's overdue." Grandpa came out of the barn, slow as always, wiping his hands on an old rag. He moved like a man who was deciding whether or not he should let someone hang themselves with their own rope. "Cole," he said, "let me talk." He walked up to her, tipped his cap, and said, "Ma'am, I'm Silas Garner, owner." She looked him up and down, sizing him up like he was some animal. "I'm Brooke Halverson," she said like she was expecting applause. "Director of Cedar Valley Development. We're building a planned community, and the county approved preliminary surveys. That means shared access." Grandpa smiled, but didn't touch his eyes. Big words for a little gate. She stiffened. "Progress doesn't stop for nostalgia, Mr. Garner." Grandpa leaned in just a little, his voice even. "Neither does common sense. And the thing about progress is it doesn't give you the right to park your shiny tank on my entrance and call it public." For the first time, something cracked in her polished demeanor. She climbed back in her SUV and peeled off, leaving us standing there with the faint sound of her tires on gravel. The next couple of weeks felt like a war of attrition. Every time we turned around, there she was. Same SUV, same smug smile. Always blocking the gate, always with her camera in hand. I tried to handle it with patience, the way Grandpa would have wanted. I took notes, snapped photos, logged timestamps. Lana, my girlfriend, kept telling me to stay cool. "Cole, get the evidence. Don't get emotional." But it started to feel personal. One morning, she blocked our gate while the vet was trying to check on our cattle. Another day, she parked so wide across the road that we couldn't even get a four-wheeler through. Every time, she'd just smile, that same cold look on her face, like she was daring us to do something. Then one day, she took it too far. It rained the night before, and I spent 2 days digging a clean channel to keep Cotton Creek from flooding our lower pasture. I was proud of that ditch, stupidly proud, but it meant fewer calls at midnight and fewer hours in wet boots. Brooke rolled in around noon, didn't even bother with the gate this time. She drove straight across the fresh trench, tearing it apart like it was made of soft cake. Mud splashed, water clouded, and within seconds, the whole thing collapsed. She backed up, looked at the damage, and drove off like she had just tested a speed bump. I felt my jaw lock, so hard it hurt. Grandpa didn't shout. He just walked out into the drizzle, coffee in hand, and stared at the ruined ditch. Then he crouched down, dipped his fingers into the muddy swirl, and muttered. She wrote her name in it. That night, Lana came over with a laptop and a stack of papers. "Trespass notice," she said. "Property damage claim. Certified mail. We do it clean." Grandpa rubbed the bridge of his nose like a man with an old headache. "Paper don't scare people like her." Lana paused. "It's still the right move." Grandpa nodded. "Sure. But you know what scares her?" "What?" "Embarrassment. Witnesses. A fool caught being a fool." The next day, sure enough, we got a certified letter. Cedar Valley's legal division was threatening us, saying our fence violated setback rules, and that Cotton Creek was a shared drainage channel under public review. They sent us a shiny map, red lines drawn all over our pasture, claiming it was theirs. Lana scanned the map and frowned. "This is wrong." They redrew the boundaries. Grandpa didn't flinch. He just led us to the old workshop, the one that smelled like oil and cedar dust. Inside, under a tarp, was a battered wooden box filled with old surveys, deeds, and county plats. Grandpa unrolled one, the paper crackling as it unfolded. "This," he said, tapping the line, tracing Cotton Creek, "is the real boundary we own beyond both banks. Recorded. Notarized. Older than her whole company." Lana's eyes lit up. "This is solid." Grandpa nodded. "Truth always is." We photographed everything, scanned the copies, and filed them with the county the next morning. Then Grandpa did something that made my stomach tighten. He hammered a wooden sign beside the gate. "Private property. Unauthorized vehicle subject to removal after 72 hours. County Ordinance 14-88. "We're doing it clean," he said. "She loves rules when she thinks she owns them. Let's see how she handles it when they're not hers to bend." Grandpa called Deputy Mara Kane, who'd known him since she was a teenager. She came out, read the sign, and said, "Log the hours. I'll witness it if you want. You keep it legal. Nobody can touch you." Grandpa nodded. "I like legal." The next morning, at 9:17, Brooke showed up again. Same white SUV, same smug look. She parked right in front of the gate, like she didn't care about the sign. Grandpa sat on the porch, notebook in hand, calm as the sunrise. He wrote down the time, the date, and the fact that she was blocking the gate again. She got out, phone up, filming our sign like it was some trophy she was adding to her collection. "This one hold up," she called out. Grandpa didn't move. He just said, "Ma'am, you've been warned." She rolled her eyes and climbed back into the SUV. She didn't stay, but 2 days later, the storm rolled in, turning everything upside down. Cotton Creek flooded, and Brooke showed up late afternoon, parked across the gate, and stayed inside her SUV. She was playing the waiting game, but the storm didn't wait. Her tires sank deeper into the mud, and by the time she tried to drive out, the tires spun, tearing up the earth she thought she could control. She got out furious. "You need to help me," she snapped. Grandpa looked at her, calm as ever. "Help you? You parked in a posted private entrance in the middle of a storm. That's not my emergency." She pointed at the gate, at the sign, at us. "This is harassment." Grandpa checked his notebook. "Clock started when you parked." She stared, and then made a phone call, desperate, trying to get someone to help. But the storm got worse. The next morning, her SUV was still there, half sunk, bowing to the ground. Deputy Mara came by to witness it and shook her head. She really did it to herself. Grandpa didn't say anything. He just kept logging the hours. The 72-hour mark came, and at exactly 9:17 a.m., Grandpa put his pen down. "Time's up." Mara came, body cam on, with another deputy and a tow operator. The tow operator took one look at the mess and said, "Not with my rake." Brooke arrived in a black sedan, hair plastered, mascara smeared, screaming before she even reached the gate. "You can't touch my vehicle." Mara held up her hand. "Ma'am, it's been 72 hours. Private property. Posted notice. Documented. You were warned." Brooke's voice rose. "This is destruction." Grandpa walked past her like she was nothing, climbed onto the tractor, and looked at me. "Cole," he said, "easy pull." I started filming, hands shaking but keeping the camera steady. Grandpa backed the tractor up, hooked the chain to her SUV, and pulled. Slowly, the SUV began to move, tires groaning, mud sucking at them. Brooke screamed, "You're ruining it." Grandpa didn't even look at her. He just said, calm and almost disappointed, "You ruined it when you parked it here." The SUV slid across the mud and towards the creek, still swollen from the storm. Grandpa stopped at the bank, checked the tension on the chain, and looked at Mara. "You got what you need?" Mara nodded, phone in hand, filming it all, knowing this was going to get replayed at cookouts. Grandpa nodded back. "All right, then." He eased forward again. The SUV tipped, and the creek grabbed it like it had been waiting. A heavy splash, water exploded, and the SUV disappeared beneath the surface. Not like a dramatic movie sinking, more like the earth swallowing an insult. Brooke made a sound that was somewhere between a scream and a gasp, stumbling back in the mud like her legs didn't trust her anymore. Mara exhaled slowly. "Well," she said deadpan, "that's one way to remove an abandoned vehicle." Grandpa shut off the tractor, climbed down, and looked at Brooke. Real quiet. "Now you can take your boundaries and go home." Cedar Valley Development threatened lawsuits, but we had the proof. The sign, the logs, the timestamps. Everything. And then the best part, the glossy map they sent. The county surveyor found that it had been doctored. Not a mistake. Not a misunderstanding. Doctored. 2 weeks later, Brooke Halverson was placed on administrative leave. Cedar Valley's expansion proposal got frozen, pending investigation. And suddenly, a bunch of other landowners started coming forward with their own stories of intimidation. Grandpa didn't celebrate. He rebuilt the drainage ditch, fixed the gate, and planted grass where the mud had been. The ranch went back to sounding like ranch life again. Wind, cattle, crickets, and the steady hum of work. But here's where it gets complicated, and this is where I want you in the comments. Did Grandpa go too far? The SUV was expensive. It got dragged into moving water. You could argue that he destroyed property. Should he have waited for a tow truck? Should he have gone to court? But here's the thing. Brooke didn't just park wrong. She tested how easy it would be to push us off land she wanted. And I've seen it happen. People bullied out of their homes with nothing but paperwork and pressure. Grandpa didn't fold. He didn't throw punches. He didn't threaten anyone. He just waited for the right moment, and let the creek do what creeks do. So what would you do? Would you play nice until you lost everything? Or would you draw a hard line like Grandpa did, even if people called it extreme? Tell me in the comments. Right, wrong, justified, reckless. Drop your take below. And if you've ever seen an HOA or developer steamroll regular folks and call it progress, I want to hear those stories too. Hit like if you still believe private property means something. And don't be shy in the comments, because the truth is justice looks different depending on which side of the gate you're standing.